Welcome to the Brandon B. Art Show. Great to have you back for another episode. It's been a minute. If you listened to the last episode, it was right before Thanksgiving, and here we are, the last day of February. My God, has a lot happened. I have so much to catch you up on. A big personal story about business and business failure and creativity and getting out of a rut and all that stuff. So, but first, if you're new here and the intro didn't say it well enough, why the hell would you care? Why are you listening? Well, this show is basically about creative independence. It's about building self-employed income, the freest lifestyle that you can so that you are free and supported and you can do the creative things you want to do. Stand-up comedy, build a podcast, start your own business in some other creative endeavor. Whatever it is, it's about doing that as quickly as possible and living up to what you always wanted your life to be. Okay? But we talk a lot about entrepreneurship. We talk a lot about creativity here. And boy, do I have those two topics in spades to tell you about today. So we'll talk about a recent business failure that I had, what I learned from it. If you're facing a timeline and you've got to get money coming in, what do you do? Do you get a job? Do you try to do something self-employed? Do you do something different? We'll talk about that. And we'll talk about podcasting. We'll talk about comedy. We'll talk about life and romance, and probably no romance on this episode. But I'm going to tell you all about that. So let's get right into it. Okay. We last left off, it was right before Thanksgiving. And here's what was going on in the background all fall. I had a business that I was pursuing, and I'll call it a failure. But the good thing about being self-employed and about trying a bunch of different things is you're free to fail as many times as you need to. And so that whole thing went tits up, and I was left scrambling. What do I do now? I got to get income coming in. Don't have a lot of runway left. What the hell am I going to do? So I decided to make a pivot. I was running a podcast agency here for the first, for a while, trying to build that up, get clients to produce podcasts and do various things related to that. And then I decided, the thing that I really would love to do, I was having trouble there getting new clients, like having a steady way to get new clients that was like reliable and reproducible and, so just made the whole thing easier. So that in and of itself was stressful. But then I realized what I would really love to do, and I can't believe I want to do this, it would be to coach other people on building podcasts, which was kind of baked into what I was doing. But, instead of doing it for you, I was just going to kind of create a group and coach people on how to create like the best podcast they could, which I could do, which I believe I could deliver on. The problem is I don't have a big audience right now. Nobody, not a huge amount of people trust me or know me. So I didn't realize how hard of a sell that would be. So what I did though, I came across somebody, a guy on YouTube. I think he would position himself as a business coach, and he would coach people on how to create coaching and online teaching businesses. He's based in Dubai. He's not Emirati. He's just a regular old white guy like me who moved to Dubai to probably not pay any taxes like everybody does. But he was running this business out of there. And his content on YouTube was really good. And I was like, damn, that sounds good. And he had a method that sounded like, okay, you don't have to have a big audience to do this method. So I signed up, not having a lot of time, feeling a real like sting of like, man, this is about all the money I have left to invest in a business here. But I believed that it would work. So I did it. And so I wanted to launch that coaching business. And his basic method was about, the way you get traffic is you create YouTube ads. Yeah, YouTube ads. So it's a paid advertising thing. But, it made a lot of sense YouTube ads are great because you can follow the metrics, you can record the metrics, you can figure out what works and doesn't work, and kind of tailor things from there. So you really have a lot of good data. So I did. I spent months building up this business, writing YouTube ads, creating YouTube ads, building up the funnels, creating like a ClickFunnels account. The way it would work was this: if you meet the certain demographics of people that I thought would be looking for a podcast, you went to certain websites, certain demographic, whatever, keywords, all that, you would be shown a YouTube ad of my face. It would look a lot like this, but a little more well edited. And I would basically lead you, say some really, really enticing words, all honest, and of course, but I would incentivize you to click on a link. You would go to my landing page where there would be like a 10-minute, whether you'd be an opt-in form, and then there would be like a 10-minute VSL, which is just a video that kind of explains, hey, this is who I am. This is, if you're this kind of person, this is what I can do for you. Sign up for a free strategy session with me on this website, and we'll do a Zoom call. That was it. That's the whole funnel. There's a lot more steps in building that whole freaking thing, but that was basically it. So I set that up, and I had enough of a budget to get it going. Not on the high end. Thank God I didn't have more money to invest on the high end of that YouTube ad spend budget. But so I did it. So it took a lot longer to build all this and put it into place because I am a perfectionist. I want to get it right. So it had to be good. And I had it all set up and running. Goes live. It's okay. It's not great. It's fine. It's going well. I'm hitting all the metrics. I'm hitting all the benchmarks that I'm supposed to hit. I had a call with them. A month or two go by after I launch it. I'm like, this isn't not trending in a great direction, though. Had a call with him. He looked over everything. He's like, no, this is all really good. You just got to chin up, fight the good fight, keep on going, hold fast, and all that. Cheerio. And so I did that. I hung in there, and at some point right around the time I did this last podcast episode around November, I hit like a spike. Like it started really working out. The Google's algorithm figured out something. And so then I was like, all right, this is really working now. So now it's looking good. So I invested more money into the ad spend. And then all of a sudden, of course, it's not working now. And so now I'm here facing the end of the year, facing Christmas, which is kind of when I gave myself as a deadline to like, this is either going to work or it's not, or we're going to have to blow this whole thing up and start over. But I didn't want to quite give up. So I gave it through the holidays. I gave it into the beginning of the year. Still wasn't trending in a good direction. I finally pulled the plug on that sucker and, called it a loss and decided to do something else. I could just tell the way things were going, it wasn't going to be where I needed it to be in the time I needed it to be in. And the calls that I was getting, the prospects I were getting weren't really that good. They weren't that qualified. So meanwhile, this guy you could tell he had pivoted his own strategy in his own business. He was creating organic content on YouTube and getting clients that way. I wonder why. Because you don't have to spend money on ads. You have way higher profit margins and all that. So, he really was doing a different kind of thing in his own business. I should have taken that as a cue. So I rang in the new year with a glass of champagne, massive amounts of anxiety, and Valium to start the new year. Now, I didn't really do the Valium part, but had to blow it all up, had to start over. And right before Christmas, I decided, okay, here's what's going to happen here. Because I knew this business probably wasn't working out. I am going to have to start looking for a job. The one thing that any entrepreneur, self-employed person hates, it's a fate worse than death, having to decide, fuck, I got to go get a job. So I started applying to jobs. I started talking to recruiters, figured I could go back into sales since I did commercial real estate for so long. Of course, right before the holidays, what's everyone going to tell you? Let's circle back in 2025. And so we circled back in 2025 and, things, I didn't know. I'm sure I could have gotten a job. But guess what? A job takes 2 or 3 months, maybe 4, if you've been self-employed and haven't been in the job market for a while. It just takes time. You know, it also takes that amount of time getting a business going if you know what the hell you're doing. So what I decided to do around that time was I was like, I have to get out of like this uncertain financial situation. I'm running out of time. So I got to pursue both. I got to pursue a job and I have to pursue, my own self-employment. What I'll do is this: get a job. It'll be fine. And then on the nights and weekends, I'll continue to build up a business. Then when the business gets up to the point where it's replacing or, making about the same amount as my income from my job, I'll quit the job again. Well, right there, alarm bells should be going off because it's like, all right, I'm going to do both of these things at the same time. Option 1A, which is the job. Option 1B, which is continue to do some kind of self-employment, maybe get a little bit of money going on right now to bridge the gap. And I didn't get very far with either of those. So splitting that is no good. And then that whole plan, I'm saying it out loud now. It seems obvious. It didn't at the time. Like, why would you do that? Why are you going to go all the way around and get a job that you don't really want because you don't want a job? You want to be self-employed, and then get that going so you can start a business that you've been trying to build, and then quit that job later and then do the business. What if you just went all in, no safety net, taking the lessons that you've learned, the hard fought, painful lessons, and just doubling down on the business, on the income? Do it now. Try to get it figured out in a couple months. And then if you do, you're good. You don't have to do the job. Ultimately, that's what I did. I had a call with someone who I follow, who's a really good content creator. He talks about self-employment, and he talks about, building a business and stuff. His name's Ayodeji Awosika. And he's this dude. He just lives in, he kind of goes by Ayo, 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 the author. Made a lot of money on Medium, lives up in like Minneapolis, I think. And real cool, real honest, real generous guy. Had a call with him. And, as I'm talking to him, I'm just starting to realize he's going to help. He's kind of helping me, give me some ideas on what kind of, strategies I can put in place to get some income going in a different way. And as I'm having that call with him, I'm just realizing, I got to drop the job search. It's just not me. My number one value in life, and sometimes you have to really test yourself to figure this out, is freedom. All right. But I need stability. Freedom, but financial stability. I do not want freedom to the extent where I'm backpacking and living, week to week as a farmhand in Australia or something like that. I need a good financial base, and that's what I'm trying to build so that I can have that freedom. I want to live a good lifestyle. I want to go to Starbucks. I want to go eat at, I don't need nice places, but a Chili's dinner once in a while might be nice. Order the apps, get one of those margaritas with the beer. I want to be able to pay for that and not have to worry about spending that money at Chili's. So that's all I want. I want to have a nice flight, have a glass of champagne once in a while. I don't need that much. I just want to know that I'm good from that level, because having that base is really going to be what enables you to take chances in your creative life, in your entrepreneurial life. You got to have that base though first, is what I figured out, which I had not had at that point. But I decided I got to go all in and do this. So I dropped the job search, and man, it felt so liberating, but also like, fuck, I just wasted a month on a job search where I was splitting my time between doing that and doing something else. And I didn't really get that far with either, but lesson learned, you got to listen to your heart. And my heart was telling me, just go all in, just fucking figure it out. And at the end of the day, I didn't realize it was that important to me to have that level of freedom and self-employment versus a job. I didn't know until I had to make that choice. And that's what I realized. Okay, some other reasons why I decided to take the job or to get rid of the job and pursue self-employment. And I'm saying all of this because at the end of the day, the thing that ultimately made the decision was it's just who I am. That's it. It's who I am. It's what my gut was telling me. That was all that mattered. But I actually think that now in 2025, the safest bet, if you have entrepreneurial aspirations at all, and even if you don't, I still think the safest bet in the long term is self-employment. Because here's an example. I think this month, Meta, the company that owns Facebook. So Meta posted all-time profits, but then they subsequently laid off like a certain percentage of their workforce. That's new. Usually a company has a bad fiscal quarter or bad year and then lays off people. They're having a profitable year and they're laying off people. You know why? Because they're going to start automating more. And a lot of information, knowledge workers, people who are kind of in the middle management section, they're going to get eliminated. And I don't think there's going to be this big job, tons of people are going to be jobless. I think what's just going to start happening is companies are going to hire less. And when people retire, they're not going to backfill a lot of those jobs. And that's just going to be the way it's going to be. And so if you really, this is a time when I don't think employment is safe. It used to be that a job was safe. You keep that job, you get that income coming in, and then you build a business on the side. Well, I think that now, at any moment, the rug could be pulled out of you in your job. And at least in the long run, your job might get eliminated, automated away. Why wouldn't it? And so your best bet is to find a way to make money on your own, especially if that's what you ultimately want to do. I would recommend doing it sooner than later. Point number 2, everyone I know, every friend I have who has a job, at best tolerates their job. I don't know anybody in my life, at least that I can think of, who loves their job. They tolerate their job. It's fine. It's okay. It's not what they ultimately would love to do. And I'm an all-in, kind of all or nothing person. I don't like that. I need to have purpose. I need to have my work be what I want it to be. So, and I also want the freedom, which is what this show is all about, the freedom to pursue the things I really want to do. Stand-up comedy, podcasting. I think that is those two things together are ultimately going to be more what I want to do long-term. I'm a skydiver. Go skydiving. I want to have that freedom. Maybe I want to go back to Japan for a couple of weeks. I don't know. Maybe I'll do it. So all that is really important to me. Now, I know you can have that with a job. You can take time off. But like I said, just that control of my time is ultimately what matters to me most. Okay. So this whole time, I haven't done anything creative. I stopped doing stand-up comedy back, in like October when I was working on the coaching business. And by the way, I'm going to tell you in a minute the business that I've decided to start doing now. And how I'm trying to grow it. I hope that will help you as well. So I stopped doing stand-up comedy. I got kind of burnt out doing it for a little while. I wasn't doing it in the right way. I was really feeling like I was forcing it. All right, so I stopped doing that. Also, that had to do with not having that stable financial footing and everything. So I stopped doing stand-up comedy, and I haven't podcasted, obviously, since November. So that's another thing. I was like, that's all right, because I'm deciding to go all in here. I'm going all in on this income. I'm going to get this income right. I'm going to get it figured out now. And then I'll come back to do all that. Okay. Which felt good at the time. I'm like, good. I'm free to go all in. I don't have to split my focus and say, I'm going to do income related activities during the day, and then I'll do stand-up comedy here in these little pockets of time, and then I'll do podcasting at some other, carve that out, like separate everything so rigidly. The only thing I did during that whole time that I've continued to do for a while now is skydiving. My God, I have come very far in skydiving, farther than I expected in such a short time. I guess that was my one relief, my one activity where I could just turn off my mind and just jump out of a plane and feel mortal terror. That's the break I gave myself. No, it's not terrifying once you jump out of the plane. It's terrifying in the plane while you have time to think. So I've been doing all that. That all has gotten much easier. More about that in a different episode. But so that was the only activity I was doing. Then a couple of things very recently. I wasn't going to be podcasting right now. I wasn't going to be doing stand-up comedy, and I actually have a show this weekend. So I've gone back into it. Why did that happen? What changed? I still haven't gotten the business and the income quite where I wanted it to be. So why did I change my mind? Well, TBH, I had a therapy session with my therapist, who I see from time to time. And she hit me with something that just kind of, boom, light bulb. She started asking me this question, because I guess I was explaining how, I'm putting money and making money, and I do all these other things that are important to me in my life. And she just started asking me again and again, money is freedom. Money is, and I would say, I don't know, money is stability. Money is, and then she goes, money is, and I go, money is struggle. And then, oh my God. And at that moment, I realized that there's all these things that I wanted in my life, and I was putting a barrier between me and them. And the barrier was, I thought, it's money. All right, I'm going to make money first, and then I can get all these other things. But then I started realizing, well, I have this belief that money is struggle. You have to struggle to make money. Money is not easy to make money. And that became a self-fulfilling belief. So I wanted to make money to have all these other things in my life, the lifestyle, everything. But I couldn't even make the money because I knew it was going to be a struggle. It was just like this self-fulfilling thing. Instead, what I ended up realizing was that all of that stuff, there's no barrier. You can do it all now. It's just not going to look the way I expected it to. So the other thing was, I had decided, I was in a stand-up comedy, like a 2-month long workshop. We have a show, which is this show, at the end of the workshop, which is this weekend. And I just hadn't had time to work on it, to go to open mics, to write new material, which was my plan. And so I told the comedian who's the teacher, I was like, dude, I got to bow out. I haven't been able to do this to the level that I wanted to. I don't, this isn't how I wanted it to go. And he's like, gave me a pretty chill response that also kind of blew my mind and gave me a different perspective. He was, he's been doing comedy for 10 years. He was just like, that's fine if you need to do it. But I kind of feel like he was like, comedy is what you make of it. And it doesn't have to be perfect. And you can, give it what you're able to give it. And it's okay. You can you can present your old material. It's more about that than like having all this new material and a perfect new set to work on. And for whatever reason, that just clicked with me. I'm like, you're right. I'm being kind of a perfectionist, putting way too much pressure on this. And that just made me realize that's what was broken with my whole relationship with podcasting and comedy. I was putting too much pressure on it. Sure, I've got to figure out a lot of things with my business, but that doesn't mean that I can't do the other things that I really like. But what was happening was I wasn't enjoying even the comedy, even the podcasting, which are supposed to be things that you love. When you end up becoming a full-time podcaster or comedian or artist or whatever it is you want to do, writer, you want to love it, right? That's why you want to do it full time. I had kind of messed up my own relationship with all that stuff. And instead, what should have been the red flag was I was looking at all of these things subconsciously as a job. Stand-up comedy was this one thing that I had to work on. A podcast was this other thing that was kind of tied to my business that had a lot of income pressure that I had to work on, and I had to make sure I used it right for marketing. And then my, business was also the other thing I had to work on. And when things look like that in your head, that's a bad sign. It's a sign that they're not energizing you. There's some resistance there. They're draining you. And instead, what I realized was this is when I blew it all up. I had already just blown up my whole approach to everything. And I just said, you know what? I don't have a lot of time left, but I have to listen to my gut. And I know I need to work on this business. I'm not going to try to get a job, but I have to do it in a way that feels motivating first. I have to do it in a way that I wake up every day and I want to do this instead of waking up every day and expecting to fail. In light of not having a lot of time left, in light of all that, I was closer to the end of my runway when I had that thought a week ago or whatever, that I ever have been, but I knew I had to start taking it slow. I had to fix the relationship that I had with all this stuff, and I had to take time out of it. I had to take all that out of it. I had to take that pressure off, and I had to realize, what really is going to make me want to grow this business? Because the one thing about a job is you don't have to love it. You're given structure and you're given a system, and you just have to work it. You do it, you leave it at the end of the day, and that's it. It's very clean. Hopefully that's what you're doing. Hopefully it's not taking over your life. And I was trying to take that same mentality with my own self-employment stuff and my own projects. And you can't take that workman mentality to these other things that are supposed to give you inspiration and energy. And so you just can't do it. So I had to completely just structure the whole way I thought about all of this, which has been hard and which has taken, it's very slow, but I knew it had to be done. This was the time to do it. But when you do that and you start figuring it out and it starts to feel right, and little bit by little bit, you start to realize, okay, these are the kind of things that I can do that just feel good, that motivate me. Then even though I can't go all in on stand-up comedy or my other projects right now, my long-term stuff, and I wish I could, I'm an all-in kind of person. Having the right alignment, the right motivation, when you're doing your main thing, which is probably going to be income related, enables you to have energy, just even if it's a little bit, to give to these other projects that you hope that are going to be bigger than one day. I'm doing a horrible job explaining this, by the way, because it's such like a feeling based thing and not a mindset based thing. But when the alignment's there and your mindset is right, all of these things feed off each other. They don't feel like like a distraction from each other. They all build and they all resonate and they all kind of synergize with each other. It's almost like viewing it all as one thing. And when you can find that, where all of these disparate things in your life kind of unite, that's when you know you've got something. And so I'm not saying anything else about if that is definitely going to work, but that's what I've realized that just feels right and makes sense now. And so I decided, all right, I'm going to start podcasting again. It felt a month ago like the last thing I should be doing. You got to be creating leads and reaching out to people left and right. But this felt like the most important thing. In my gut, I had to start podcasting again, which is why I'm doing this now. And what I started realizing was that the relationship I had with podcasting was broken because I put so much pressure. I tied it to my own business, and I felt like it had to be perfect, and I had to look like this, expert, and I had to make sure I knew the messaging and the niche. And my God, that fucking killed any drive I had for it. Because when you're a creative person like me, you don't, and you want to, you want to express yourself through an outlet. That's like, I think when you're an artist or creative, your main thing is expression, self-expression. And putting all those constraints around the thing that's supposed to be your like main way of self-expression just kills it. You don't want to do it. And so I know all of the ways that somebody can build a podcast, can use a podcast to grow their business fast, the strategies you can use to go be a guest on other podcasts. I had this whole progression. I know how to, how to explain to someone if they have a business, how to niche a podcast a certain way so that it feeds their business. The one question that nobody ever talks about before you decide to start podcasting is, why are you doing this? Is it your main vehicle of creative self-expression, or are you using it to market a business? Which is it? And you have to know, because if you're using it to market a business, it's so easy to figure out a way to do all of that stuff I just mentioned. And when you're using it mainly just because you have to, and that's why I'm doing it, just because I had to do it. I felt like I wanted to do it for no other reason than to just talk, to do it, because I needed to. Well, then that's a whole different thing, because you can't put the same constraints on that. You got to just start doing that where you are and back into those other things later, the strategy and all that later. So that's what I did. And here I am. So on that note, the business I'm trying to start now, still podcast related, but this isn't a plug. If you've listened this long, you probably want to know kind of what I figured out. Instead, I'm going back to a done-for-you kind of service. Instead of coaching, I'm going to be offering more like, I'm going to be a service provider like an agency. And I'm reaching out to people who I think I can help, where I can help them be a guest on. They can have a podcast or not have a podcast, but helping with a strategy to be a guest on other podcasts to help grow your business primarily, because it turns out you can actually use podcasting to your advantage even without having a podcast. You can start going on guests on other shows, and then if that works and that resonates, you can level up even more and start your own podcast. But doing that the right way can help somebody really grow their business. And so I've put together strategies about all that. I'm probably going to use them all myself in my own business too. But that's what I realized. So in general, and I'm still doing podcast production and stuff too, but the basic general shift was from doing a teaching kind of coaching thing to a more hands-on, I'm going to do it all for you so you don't have to kind of a service, which I think is the better place to start in the beginning. It's hard. I think doing a coaching business that's a hard lift at the beginning of your entrepreneurial journey, unless you already have a huge audience and people know who you are and trust you. So last segment, what did you learn? That's what I'm going to talk about now. What I learned and how this can all help you, kind of putting this all together so we can go on with our lives. What I learned in all this was authenticity is, when you're growing a business, specifically, authenticity today is so important. And the way I think most people treat business, like client outreach, lead generation, getting work, is not in an authentic way. It's a pay and spray approach, buying leads, getting somebody to just do a bunch of outreach, just blanketing a bunch of people with a message. I get 10 a day, these template emails or template LinkedIn connections. And that just isn't fun to do. And it takes a lot of work and a lot of numbers to convert the kind of numbers you ultimately need. What is much easier and what feels counterintuitive is to do a much more authentic and slow approach, which is like I'm finding just the top like 30 people who are like, I know I can help you. I know I can help you hit your goals using podcasting. I know I can help you make money if that's your goal really quickly using podcasting. And I really feel like I understand your business and I'm aligned with you and I want to help you. Finding that ideal group and then taking your time and building a real connection with them is the way to do it. And you have to take a long-term view, which is hard when the clock is ticking and you're living on savings. You don't have a lot of runway. You want it now. You want to rush. But that, ironically, ends up taking longer. So take the long-term review, the relationship-based view. These are the people I want to have relationships with going forward, and focus on building those with no expecting to get something out of it, expecting to use somebody for something, because that's what it comes down to. It starts to feel like I'm trying to get something from you instead of I'm just going to give you what I think I can give you, add some value to your life. If you like it, great. I'm sure you will. If we don't ever do anything together, that's fine. I just want to help. That's the mindset you want to have. Secondly, focus. Splitting your focus, you'll go nowhere. Okay? You need to have alignment and focus on what you're trying to do. Like I already said, when I was splitting my income into the job thing and the business thing and trying to do like 2 part-time jobs, you end up getting nowhere. Your mind is a powerful thing, and you have to really be able to have a singular focus. And maybe there's some, tertiary things that you can do that are attached to it, but you got to have that center of the bullseye and go for it. And you'll get so much faster. It's so much simpler and easier too. So have focus. And this next one is a little woo-woo. So when you chase something, like I'm chasing prospects or I'm chasing money, money's the thing I need, I'm going after it, money's going to run away from you. It is exactly like an animal. Like, here's a perfect example. Outside, there's these squirrels. There's this lady down the street who has semi-domesticated the neighborhood squirrels. They think they own the fucking place. And she houses them and feeds them, and they come running past my door every day here in my backyard, and they just have like a giant pecan sticking out of their mouth. I know she's giving I know she's feeding them those pecans. Anyway, if I went outside right now and chased one of those squirrels, it's going to run away. But one day, I was sitting out on this deck and just chilling. I don't even know what I was doing. Not a thought in my head. I was just, vibing, just hanging out. One of these little bastards jumps on, charges me and tries to jump on me. Okay, I think it was being playful. It liked my vibe, I had a peaceful, chill thing going. It was coming after me. I was attracting it. Now, if I had gone out there and chased it, it would have run away from me. And it took a lot less energy to attract that damn disgusting squirrel. So, attract. So if that squirrel were money, I would have just been hit in the head with just a big stack of cash, right? How do you attract money instead of chase money? I think it's this. I think you don't make the money the goal. You make the goal helping other people, giving that value, and money becomes a byproduct. Also, the big thing for me, like I said, was I was making money the thing that was the gateway to all these other things in my life, when really money isn't required for a lot of those things. And so you just make life about those things, and you become someone who, is worthy of money, but you don't chase it. You let it come into your life as a byproduct. It requires action. This isn't the secret manifesting bullshit. You manifest things by, having that belief, but also that belief, when you're properly aligned, creates the action that is going to result in money coming in as a byproduct. I hope that makes sense. And if you find yourself struggling, it's probably because you believe you need to struggle. That's some crazy shit. Ask yourself why you're struggling. And ask yourself, what are these underlying rules that I have? That a lot of them are subconscious. It takes some time to figure them out. But like the rules and conditions that must be met before you reach your goal. You know, a lot of us create these things like, I need to have this amount of money. I need to have this job. I need to have this perfect partner. I need to have all of these things in order to have, then I can go travel the world. Then I'll feel safe and I can go show the world my comedic genius, or my writing, or my, whatever it is. Is that rule or condition even really required? Do I even really need to meet that thing in order to have what I want? So do I even really need to be making money before I can be free to do comedy in my free time again? Or before I can, date or travel? You travel probably, but, maybe you got some points saved up. You get the idea. So that's it. I think about those things because a lot of times we don't know the kind of like rules and layers of crap we put on ourselves that prevent us from having what we want, which could be a lot quicker. Okay, that has been a long episode. I did not expect this to go so much into the business and everything, but I needed to explain that. I hope that was helpful to you. I hope that helps you shorten your journey and take a lot of time off of you getting where you want to be, and deletes a lot of trial and error. I hope so. That's my hope. Okay, well, I have been your host, Brandon BR. Thank you so much for listening to this episode again. I'm not going to make any promises. I hope to be back again soon. We're all figuring this out together. Until then, be good. Thank you for listening. Love ya. Bye.